welcome to Open Play Podcast. We're the podcast where we discuss Age of Sigmar, Warhammer, and wargaming in general. This is Michael. I'm here with our usual cast of suspects minus Alex tonight. But we have Mason.
Hey, everybody.
Preston.
Hello.
And Will has come back after a week off.
Good evening, lads.
So, not much news this week, so we'll get to that in a little bit, but how's everybody's hobbying going? What you up to, Mason?
I am furiously painting my World Eaters for the tournament this weekend. I now, thanks to William over there, I got a fresh new Lord of Skulls, hot off the resin, and I'm put it together in sub-assemblies and I'm priming it. I haven't decided if I want to run that this weekend or if I want to run the list that I ran on Friday in my league, because I really like the way that list operated, but ultimately I'm really liking just letting the nails dig in and hit people.
Yeah, it's a fun army. What about you, Preston? What you got going on?
A lot of nothing. I feel like that's how it goes sometimes. You've got big upswings and big downswings, but played an event last weekend and then taken pretty much the week off this week before things get going again next week.
And what about you, Will?
Finished 7 Mega Knobs, and now I have 4 Grot Tanks on my desk with another 2 coming off the printer and a Mecha Dread coming off the printer this week.
Why would you be into orcs? That's so unlike you.
So weird.
So, much like Mason, I am frantically finishing painting all my World Eaters that I've been putting off for months now for the Richmond Open. Everybody's painted. I need to base like 10 models and then rim all of the based models with some color of paint, and then I'm going to call it done. They won't be the greatest paint job, but, they'll have the obligatory colors, they'll be based, and they'll be good to go.
That's awesome, dude.
Not to dissuade you from hobbying, but there's nothing in the rules that say your base rims have to be one solid color, so if you got overspray on there, you ain't got time, don't do it.
Oh, no, it's either going to be a dark red around all the bases. I mean, that doesn't take long. It's everything else that takes a while. It'll be done with a brush. Everything else is done with an airbrush, which I'm getting used to more and more, and I like the effect of the airbrush.
What are you putting through it, out of curiosity? What brand and stuff?
So I've put Speed Paint 2.0 from Army Painter through there without any flow improver, because it's contrast paint, so it works just really well through. I put a bunch of Pro Acryl through there. For that, I do need a flow improver for that to just even it out a little bit. I've also done some Turbo Dork in there. They're new color shift paints. I did that through there, and some too thin coats as well. And that just a little bit thinner for the too thin coats, but everything else is pretty just easy. I did grab a ultrasonic cleaner for my airbrush. It was on sale for like $30, and that's like the best thing I could have bought because it makes cleaning the airbrush the inside so much easier.
Okay, I may have to have you show me some. I still am terrible with the airbrush. I don't know why I'm so bad with it, but I am.
Well, I mean, I'm bad with it, don't get me wrong. I'm terrible, but as you use it more, you'll get better control and you'll be able to do those, tighter lines and not so much overspray, which happens a lot when you have too much air going through there. Like PSI-wise on my compressor, it's sitting at maybe 5 to 10 PSI. So, I mean, there's not a ton of pressure there, so it doesn't just shove paint out the nozzle.
Yeah, I do have to get a new needle for my airbrush. I have another one, but I like to only have one because then if I'm in the middle of a project, all of a sudden my needle breaks or something and I don't have a replacement. But I really like my airbrush, and I was super skeptical of it when I got it originally. I was like, I'm probably not going to use this very much. I was incorrect. I was very much incorrect.
Yeah, it makes everything so much quicker. The other thing I've been doing also is honestly sponges, like the little bit of sponge from the carrying case that you rip out the spongy pieces to put models in, that kind of sponge. I've been using that for basically all the stupid trim on Chaos models, because you get the paint on the sponge and then you dab it on the trim and you don't push too hard so it doesn't hit the underside. It just hits the raised trim and it makes painting trim so much faster.
Huh. I would have loved to have known that for my sister's tanks and stuff like that, dude. They have 14 little stupid swirls that I have to do gold trim on the castigators and the immolators, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I'm not painting the best, obviously, but I mean, it does make it so much quicker. So, this guy on the left here, I mean, obviously it's messy, but I mean, that was just a quick, 2-second sponge. I mean, that's all that was, just dab, and he's done. Huh. I'm not going for gold. I'm really not going for gold with any of these guys, like this guy in the back. I mean, it's just, all these trim pieces that were ever painted were just dabbed with a sponge.
That's pretty slick. Usually I'm still a brush idiot. I just load up a brush and I just gently go along the edge as fast as I can.
I mean, that's what I did with everything else other than this, because I was trying to get it done in 2 weekends. Like the Berserkers I have painted, Angron in the background there. I mean, all that was brush work. None of that was spray work, but I'm going all spray now. I refuse to use a brush unless it's for the really, really small detailed pieces, then I'm sticking with the airbrush because I want to get really good with the airbrush.
Fair enough.
Yeah, tonight I'm hoping to get my Lord of Skulls primed, and then I'm going to spray all of my Berserkers with Army Painter Speed Paint Slaughter Red, because I foolishly did with my 8-bound with a brush, and then I tried a guy out of curiosity. I tried a Berserker with it through the airbrush. No thinner, goes right through, perfect color. I was like, well, I wasted a bunch of time that I didn't need to, so.
Most speed paints and contrast paints work fine without any thinner, because I mean they're already really thinned down paints because that's a speed paint.
Yeah, the reason I didn't do it originally is that you lose a little bit of the contrastiness of it. It just kind of becomes like a very translucent paint. But with the way that I zenithal with an airbrush as well, because like I usually do either a 2 or 3 part gradient depending on if I can find all 3 of my primer colors or not. It still works pretty well. Like you still have the shadows from the dark and the gray and the white make a highlighted region. So I still get the effect that I want, and it saves me a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean the zenithal with the airbrush is just so fucking easy, man.
Yep.
It's great. The only thing I won't use an airbrush for is if I'm batch priming, like priming 10 to 20 models at once, then I'm just going to rattle can prime.
Yeah, I stopped buying rattle cans, so I'm out of black, so I have rattle can gray and white. So like once that's gone, it's just like, all right, it's all going to be this, because the little bottles of surface primer that like the Vallejo ones, they last 3 times as long as a rattle can, and they're the same price.
Yeah, they do. But again, if you're doing like 100 models, the rattle can is just so much easier and quicker, honestly.
When you have a backyard, it is.
Well, this is true. I do have a backyard where I prime. So for a lot of models, that's what I do.
I live on the bottom floor of the apartment, so I have to make sure that my upstairs neighbors aren't out on their balcony. Otherwise, they're going to get real pissed off at me.
So let them in, help paint. Fuck it. It's your balcony.
They get high and fall off their balcony, and then I get
Then you got a 2-room apartment right there, or a 2-floor apartment.
I don't think that's how it works, man. I don't think that they just do that.
Just break through the ceiling. You got it. It's fine.
What is this? The Necromongers from Chronicles of Riddick? You keep what you kill?
Yes.
Deep cut.
Yeah, but a good one because it was good. So, okay. So hobbying, we're all doing, we go in waves here. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. More models to paint going forward, though, especially when Age of Sigmar 4.0 comes out. So let's touch some Age of Sigmar here. How do we feel about losing like multiple ranges? Mainly the Beast of Chaos, which got like a new model within the past year, and just half the Stormcasts.
I mean, Stormcasts I don't care about. They're the Space Marines of Age of Sigmar, so they had a huge range already. And they got a bunch of new sick-looking models anyway. I don't play enough Age of Sigmar in general to care about an army I don't play in Age of Sigmar, so it doesn't bother me either way.
Yeah, my second Mason. Even losing a bunch of rats, like all those rats were old, and there are new models for a lot of those. So, I mean, sucks to suck.
Bone Splitters, does anybody care? I mean, like 2 people were playing them.
Yeah. Why play them when you can just play other better things?
Yeah, I mean, you can play them as other models. It's not like the models are gone. The Slaves to Darkness stuff that's gone, legitimately those models are only for Warcry now, so I do understand the frustration. But those models, those were impossible to balance.
I still don't understand why they try to bring Warcry, full-on Warcry teams into the Age of Sigmar game proper. That doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you trying to balance that? That's impossible.
Yeah, but part of it is while they're moving out of Age of Sigmar, I think they're moving out of production as well. I don't know that they're going to be producing these Warcry teams anymore.
I hope that they don't stop supporting Warcry, because Warcry is very fun. I mean, they don't support Warcry anyway, I guess. So
yeah, they don't support it much. I mean, they still put out Warcry teams, but like after 40k, Warcry is definitely my favorite. It's so fun. You can get 2 games in 2 hours.
Easy.
Yeah, Warcry is really fun, and it is quick, simple, and just super easy to get into. But Beast of Chaos, man, I feel bad for Beast of Chaos players. I mean, this model was a new model. The Beast Lord was a fairly new model.
The whole range going, that's a oof.
I mean, they have a Vanguard box. I mean, Vanguard boxes are within the past like year plus, It's not like the old start collecting boxes. I mean, it's a new box that's still being sold.
Go play Old World, or don't. We don't care. GW.
Yeah, no, I'd rather not if I don't have to.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat.
Beast of Chaos is an army that I understand it's a little redundant, but some people like that army, so I don't understand why you would get rid of basically an entire faction. Like, what is left in the faction? Anything? Or is this literally all the data scrolls?
They're all going. So, I mean, there's nothing left in the Beast of Chaos. They're all going Legends. They'll have a chance to play them for like a year, I think, and then 2025 they go into Legends.
So, I'm not super familiar with my Age of Sigmar lore. The world is gone, right? They're in the Eightfold Path of Chaos, right? Isn't that like where everyone is fighting right now? They're not fighting. They're fighting on like shards of the material plane or whatever.
Yeah, so they're in different realms.
Wow, they really just like copied the D&D Great Wheel cosmology, didn't they? Like that's straight up what that is. Okay.
Pretty much.
GW does a lot of inspiring from other universe. Dune.
What? What do you mean? There's no Dune. It's not a real thing.
Yeah.
I don't see any sandworms.
The Mawla comes to greet you. Oh, Alex isn't here to defend his friends.
No. But yeah, so I mean that is the 8 realms of Sigmar at the moment.
Yeah, so if everything around you is also chaos, like Beastmen totally makes sense. They're like half people, half demons, is what I like understood. So, oh yeah, there's a whole realm of beasts. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean that's where Warcry's been set for the past year is Gur.
Well, now it's just full of dogs, just full of street dogs. There's just a bunch of good boys in there, so that's pretty cool.
So yeah, I mean it's it's sad for a whole model range to go, especially for the people that like that range. Maybe they'll get it back someday, like Votan.
I would honestly be more mad if they took it away and brought it back.
Yeah, 100%.
In the same edition. If it's like years later, then it is what it is. Whatever.
Oh
But,
yeah,
like,
yeah. I don't think they'll bring it back the same edition. I'm pretty sure it'll be something further down the road.
I'm sure that there will be another thing, and if you put your Beasts of Chaos on the table against me and say these are slaves of darkness, just tell me what's what, and I'm down to clown until I'm dead in the ground with you. Don't worry about it.
I mean, if it's not a tournament, you can just play Beast of Chaos. I mean, they'll get an index, so it's whatever. I mean, play the army you want to play.
Oh, that's true. You might have to homebrew a little bit because they're not going to balance it properly because like they don't even try to balance legend stuff. I think they've said that straight up. Like we're just not going to. So like if something is obviously like super under overpowered, like give them an extra 100 points or say, hey, this is really bad. You can't take that much of it. It's easy. It's not a tournament. It's fine. I think that overall, Age of Sigmar 4th Ed will be fun. It'll not be a game that I probably want to play a tournament on. It seems like they're moving in a similar direction to 40k, in which like it's a little bit more consistent, a little bit less swingy by dice, like with like the double turn now has actual drawbacks and stuff like that. But it's just a fun game that I can play, a dumb game with my friends occasionally when I'm tired of shooting in space. Now I'm going to stab you in chaos space.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I kind of want to go hard when it comes out, I think. Just playing the game, and I wouldn't mind doing a tournament, honestly. I think it'd be fun. I need to, now that I'm using an airbrush, I have an excuse to build all my lizards, because I plan to use all that color shift paint.
If we do an Age of Sigmar tournament, Will can't be the TO, because Will refuses to do any tournament that doesn't have painted points. And I do not have time to paint an Age of Sigmar army when I got all these 40k army.
You'll make the time. It's okay.
I can base code everybody, but I can't get 3 colors and base models.
I love me some painted armies.
I won't ever take gray plastic to a tournament. Like, even if I know I'm not getting painted points, I'm still not going to take gray plastic. But, like, I have such a backlog. I'm my chair is literally surrounded by sprues on 3 sides right now. Like, I mean, I'm buried, man. And that, to be fair, that is because I needed some bits for my World Eaters, so I was digging stuff out. But I'm not exactly the smallest pile of shame in the world, so...
I feel like I was attacked there somehow, still.
No, you're fine. You're getting out of the game, right? You said you're selling most of your armies.
I'm selling 1.
I think you're selling all but 2.
Yeah, I only have like 3.
You only have 3 complete ones.
Well, no, I only have, for 40k, I only have the only built army I have in 40k, other than like smattering of Votan that were mostly 3D prints, is World Eaters. I have no other built army.
Well, you have most of a GSE army too, don't you?
Yeah, but nothing's built. That's the thing.
Oh, nothing is. I didn't know. I thought you built some of the stuff. I didn't realize.
Yeah, I mean, I have the sniper dude on the bike. He's built. I have some other bits I got from one of the warp crates. I think I have Sanctus that's built, but I mean, everything else is still in box. So I'm just going to offload the boxes.
Yeah, that's fair.
But as you were mentioning, the priority roll. So interesting change. I mean, no battle tactics. If you take the double turn, which, round 2, is it really that important? But I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I mean, that's a whole turn of 0 scoring or only secondary scoring. That's a big deal. Imagine a whole turn of 0 points in 40k. That could just straight up cost you the game.
Well, no, isn't it 0 points of... It's 0 points of secondary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you were just like, I'm going to forfeit 10 or 12 points in 40k for an entire turn for the hopes to kill some more. That could cost you the game.
I misunderstood you. I thought you meant that you can't score primary. You could only score sec. That's what I was like.
You can score secondaries. And the other thing is, the other player's defensive buffs are still running, because they run until the following hero phase.
Aren't battle tactics the secondaries in Age of Sigmar?
Yeah.
And you can't use those.
Well,
so you can still score primary.
You score primary, but like you can't score battle tactics, which oftentimes battle tactics are where you're going to get tons of victory points from.
Yeah, I think the way you were phrasing it, by transcribing the rules of Warhammer 40k, my brain got mush.
And yeah, all your opponent's defensives are still running, so is it worth it? I don't know, maybe. If you can really hammer your opponent and hem them in, I could see it being worth. But past that,
If you know you're going to give a death now, like, I know that if I do this, I'm going to be uncontested the rest of the game on scoring, then yeah, you do it. But it's a choice. Whereas before, it was just kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to go ham sandwich, and you're not going to stop me and do anything about it.
There's definitely a choice now. Like, if you're slamming into an Ard Boys or an Orc army that's really, really tough, and you're like, I'm not going to be able to kill enough to capitalize, they're going to crack back, and now you're in a great position to get your whole army charged, and they're going to score a bunch of points. So is it you really got to make sure it's worth it.
So how do you feel about the battle formations bit where, it's going to be indexes, but each index is going to have like 4 formations, so 4 indexes basically to choose from, so detachments?
I'm okay with it again. Age of Sigmar at its core is a thematic game. Why would my Warlock Engineer be bringing a bunch of Plague Monks? That doesn't make sense. Like, he could have some, and you still can. You take them in auxiliaries. But like, under his retinue, the Warlock is not going to have a bunch of Scryer-based units. He might have a unit of Storm Vermin or a unit of Clan Rats. Those make sense. Those are never. But past that, it doesn't make any sense for him to have tons of specialized units like Plague Claw catapults and stuff. So I dig it, man. I'm on board with it.
Well, I think it's more the fact that they did this for Sigmar, but for 40k, you get the one single index and detachment, unless you're, a Trukari who had a second one brought in because the first one sucked.
Yeah, they had to give them some help. If they're willing to put it out there, like, why not? We've kind of talked about how the Age of Sigmar team very much they have to be fans of their game with the way that they work. From the models to the rules that they put out there, it seems like there's a lot of love put into it. And I'm not shitting on the GW team in any way. I'm just saying that, like, there is a very clear distinction about, like, this is a game that is supposed to be fun, not competitive, and, like, it really shows.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more competitive in 4th with everything they're doing. That's why I mentioned tournaments earlier. I'm excited to play a few armies in there and just bulk out all my Sigmar armies. But, yeah, I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what it looks like. I'm curious to see what they do with the command points, where they said it's going to be much less than before, where some armies like OBR, have 1 billion command points you can gain. I'm curious what changes are going to be made to armies like that to counterbalance that ability they used to have.
Yeah, is it there's much less command points than there was in the last edition, just like 10th edition 40k, it's much less lethal.
And then everything's lethal? Yeah. Well, if everything's lethal, nothing's lethal.
That's not how that works.
And other changes, I use D&D terminology for this, but reactions, which are basically what they are, that you can do on your opponents at the end of opponent phases.
Oh, yeah.
I think that'll be interesting. That'll be fun.
Those are really good.
The heal grenade is hilarious to me.
Oh, the rally? Yeah.
Yeah, same rules as the grenade rule in 40k, but instead of that, you return models. I like that.
It's the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
But, like, the opposite.
Yeah, I'll say in the opposite.
It stitches your guys back together.
And the redeploy thing, I like abilities that happened at the end of phases on the enemy's turn, because it just changes what they need to do.
It does make the game way more tactical, right? Like, not to just go against what I literally just said about the game being more fun and less strategic. Having reaction to anything is just injects skill cap, or like raises the skill cap of any game.
How would you like to have a counter charge in 40k when you're playing war leaders? You charge a unit and then they play their trap card and they charge you.
They already have it. It's called Heroic Intervention. But it's rare that Heroic Intervention's used currently.
Yeah, but isn't that more character?
No, anyone can heroically intervene now.
Yeah, anyone can do it. And that's legitimately the reason when we get into orcs, I might run you, it's free now. So 8 Squig Hogs and a Beast Boss on Squigosaur heroicing for free is going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's the thing with World Leaders. I never have an extra 2 CP that I want to use. Because, like, if I'm fighting a melee army that I might want to heroic against, well, I could also use that 2 CP for interrupt and or for -1 damage. So, like,
it's almost always more valuable to just not... Because what is one unit going to do for 2 CP? And then they can fight you before you get to fight, because you're not actually making a charge. So it's like,
How do you feel about the data cards here? I have Nagash's card up on screen.
They look cool. It's clean. It's easy to read.
If those are the size of Magic cards, those are going to be impossible to read, actually. But hopefully they're a little bigger. Hopefully that's like set up for like an 8.5 by 11 page instead of, and a playing card will be 2 pages or something.
Probably be like a 5x7, similar, because I mean, Sigmar already had those really big index card type cards already for the armies, where GW didn't for 40k until this edition. So it's probably going to be on like the army card size sheet, I would imagine.
Well, and also in fairness, Nagash has a lot of rules because he's
Yeah.
Nagash.
Didn't have this card, but I mean, I assume they'll have pictures on the cards, I guess, of the models.
Unless you're Nagash and you're too big for your card.
Boy, you gotta fill the space up with rules.
I do like this once per turn at the end of any turn Hand of Dust. That's always nice.
So cool.
Hopefully he's not still 860 points. Make him even 8, and maybe we can run him in an army.
I mean, once 4.0 comes out, if you want to get a game in, Michael, you'll be facing Nagash every game. I don't care how many points he is.
I have like 3k of OBR. I'm good.
You could be facing Gloomspite then, or Skaven, because I don't want to do mirror matches all the time.
Yeah, no, I need to finish building the cities, because I actually want to play cities. But we'll see how the index checks out for that. If it doesn't look good, then I'll go to Seraphon. But overall, a lot of good information. New clan rats were shown. Hey,
Hot rat summer.
it is Hot Rat Summer.
Lots of cool stuff for Skaven. I liked almost everything that I saw. Obviously, the clan rats, they look good. I like the fact that they have a little bit more armor to them, and they look like they have a good amount of detail, because even though they are clan rats, they're still pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of what's going to be released in that box. And talking with one of our mutual friends, if he gets a box, I may take his Skaven and give him my Stormcast.
There's definitely going to be a new weapons team, like a new rattling gun.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in the trailer, the rolling Gatling gun thing.
Yeah. I'm probably going to pick one of those up, just because I want to paint him.
New Rat Ogres. I mean, there should be a lot of new units coming, and maybe they'll actually start showing more this coming week, because apparently the Tau Codex is never coming out by itself. I kind of expected it to be pre-order, you know, like this weekend. I expected it to be for pre-order since the other, like, to announce it today, which they didn't.
It would have been really nice to have that for Richmond.
Didn't they announce the Crew Box at LVO? So they announced this like almost 2 months ago. They released it almost a month ago.
LVO was January. It's been 3 months. It will have been like 6 weeks after we got the book in our hands before we're allowed to use the rules.
Well, to be fair, James Workshop is very obviously, spoilers for the second half of this episode, is very obviously an Orc fan. So they just knew they had to put the Tau Codex to the side and push these Orc Codexes out.
Orcs is the best.
Let's not get carried away.
I mean, I would have been A-okay bringing 60 breachers to kill 100 orcs at Richmond Open, but...
That would have been a fun matchup, yeah.
I'm looking forward to killing orcs with Lord's Skulls, so we'll see how that plays out, because I'm sure we're going to have orc opponents there. Custodes, not so much, probably. Speaking of Custodes, let's look at their codex here.
Yeah, let's talk about the good, right? Okay, so... Yeah, it is. It's kind of a hack job a little bit. Like, I mean, it's kind of oops all nerfs a little bit. Like, there's no general buff to the codex. Like, the power level is definitely gonna go down on Custodes.
Yeah, I mean, they lost the -1 to be hit. They lost the 4+ in Vol.
I'm not a Custodes player, so I don't want to speak a lot of this and go into a lot because we have plenty of orc time to fill up, unfortunately. But yeah. I feel much better if we go take a World Eaters in the Richmond Open. I'm not going to lie, now that I know that I'm not have to worry about 6 guard fighting first on an objective, or Trajan's unit fighting first on an objective. That's very exciting for me.
Or Trajan's unit fighting first off an objective.
Yes, or Trajan's unit fighting first ever. Like, they can give a 2-up invuln. That's fine. I'll kill all his friends.
Yeah, he can do that twice per game now, if in one detachment.
Yes, in one detachment if you pay 2 CP, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd pay 2 CP for a 2-up invuln.
Yeah, I mean, for 2 key rounds, that's the majority of the game, because you're not using it round 1, so, you know, basically, you use basically 2 CP to say Trajan never dies this game.
Yeah, I don't want to harp on Custodes a lot, because, like I said, just everything about the Codex is taking away from what was a really good orc reveal, and so I try not to focus as much on the negatives as the positives. But it feels a lot like Custodes have some generally good ideas, and they just don't come together at all. The sisters for the Feel No Pain bubbles, like, that's kind of neat. Some of the stuff in Orc Champions, like being able to put leaders in different squads and getting your once per game abilities more than once, that's kind of cool. Shield Host, getting extra AP when largely they're capped at like AP2 in melee, that's really good. But none of it it just comes together in a cohesive way for the army. It's just bits and pieces everywhere.
Depending on points cost, I do wonder if you could like do a Hero Hammer army with just like 7 dudes and a Land Raider.
The old party bus.
Yeah, just seven of the really good characters. Just like roll them up the table. Like, all right, this guy's gonna come out. He's gonna trade with that squad, and then I'm gonna have Little Sister squad running around.
I mean, you're going to have to just based on the stratagems that only affect character units. It's going to be Hero Hammer, all Hero Hammer.
I think Custodians could also still end up okay, right? If they get enough points where they can get an entire another unit, then they're a little bit better off. I still think that they'll be able to go like RTTs or whatever, but like, I think you can still go 3 and 2 at a GT with these rules if you are comfortable with the fight phase and you know what you're doing.
I just don't like that their solution was to nerf the rules and presumably drop the points, because I feel like we're getting to the point where they are just like classic Marines. Like, we're getting to the amount of models that Marines used to have with Custodies.
Yes, I agree with that. Custodians should feel very elite and should be like hitting a hammer against a center block wall. Yeah, you might be able to crack it eventually, but it's going to take some time. I think that this codex will live and die with the points, whereas opposed to the Ork Codex, which is very strong on its own and was very lovingly crafted, it feels like.
Well, with the Orc champions, going back to Custodes for a minute, though, I mean, just all shield captains. Go for it.
Well, the Orc champion detachment doesn't have any battle tactics, so you're losing your entire rule for shield captains.
Command reroll, baby.
Woohoo.
Or go to ground, yeah. I used go to ground to great effect against our other friend and his brother-in-law during a learning game.
Did you really?
Yeah, some Hellblasters were shooting some Berserkers on an objective, and I'm like, I'm not going to ground here because, like, if I can still Blood Surge afterwards, so if you don't kill me, I get a Blood Surge into you, and it worked. He did not kill all the Berserkers, and I Blood Surge into the Hellblasters, and those Hellblasters had a very bad day.
I've used it on Arco Flags just to give them a save. That's about it.
Oh yeah, they're 6-up base, right?
They're 7-up base.
Oh no. So yeah.
So common consensus of everybody outside of us who's looked at it and reviewed it is it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the common consensus among us as well. I just don't want to center on that.
Yeah, we're not adding anything at this point, right?
Yeah.
A lot has been said, so I'd rather just move on.
So we can skip this probably and just talk about something else.
Yeah, I think Mason's sort of the expert on this one. We can get his thoughts.
All right, so orcs are the smallest and the worst. Green is the worst color.
Right. So I did formalize this a little bit more. I wrote down some of my thoughts earlier. The Ork Codex that was revealed is probably the most fleshed out, flavorful, and strong codex that has been released to 10th edition so far. However, and this is just Will talking, so take that initial statement and put a period. However, it kind of has to be. We are losing a lot of our characters to legends, one of them being Captain Badrock. The power that Captain Badrock brought to the table as Ork players played was that we had a credible shooting threat in almost an entirely melee-centric army. And it surprised and shocked and caught a lot of players off guard. Not only that, Captain Badrock and the Gits, they were strong in shooting, they were strong in Overwatch, and they were strong in melee. And with Captain Badrock gone, you will no longer see the Flash Gits. And I will say right now, if you take Captain Badrock and the Flash Gits away and try to field an army with the index orcs, your win rate will drop 10% because they're that strong. That being said, the new codex that was revealed is amazing, and I'm so beyond excited. All of the detachments look at least, if not outright outstanding, to good. Yeah, I'll run through my thoughts and feel free to interrupt or let me know, y'all, because there's a lot here and I'm just gonna keep on going if y'all don't interrupt me. The Big Hunt is probably the 4th strongest in my opinion. The army rule is, you get to reroll charges against your prey target and you get an additional AP against your prey target, which has to be a vehicle or monster, and if your opponent doesn't have any of those, it's gonna be a character. This could be really hit or miss, right? If they have a well-protected character who's in the back in a mostly foot-slogging army, you're not going to get a lot of use out of this rule. It's mostly snag-eccentric. The stratagem support, like unstoppable momentum, dealing mortals if you're charging, it's like a grenade. But why would I use that when I have, tank shock on something big? So, I don't know. Then they have, drag it down, so they have sustained 1 hits in melee, and it's 5+ if they're targeting their prey. So it's very focusing around this prey tactic, which is cool, but it's 1 unit a turn. Even if you're fighting knights, you bring down a big boy knight, and then the rest of your army is now just operating normally. So, the Big Hunt, it's okay. They've got some more normal moves. You can't get in a melee with it if they fall back from you, but you can stay close to them. You can get a stealth buff for 1 CP, and most everything's 1 CP, and it's good. It's good.
I think the detachment rule is sort of at odds with what orcs want to do. Orcs really want to go wide and like tie up or tag or hit as many things as they can on that turn 2 and 3.
Yes.
So being incentivized to just put stuff into one target is sort of at odds with what the army in general wants to be doing.
It doesn't make sense for orcs. That's exactly right. Are there problematic units that it's going to help against, like land raiders and knights and big heavily armored vehicles and monsters with 2-up armor saves that orcs struggle with? Yeah, absolutely. But then that's one unit. And, you know, if I really need something dead, typically I'll just slam 10 knobs into it or whatever.
I do want to point out that, Will, you are canonized on this podcast of saying orcs fear no knight. So you saying that orcs struggle to kill a knight is kind of funny to me. I just wanted to make fun of you.
Oh, it's not necessarily knight. It's 2-up armor saves. Orcs fear 2-up armor saves. We really struggle with it.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Some of the enhancements are crazy. +1 damage is pretty good. I know it's only on it's not on the unit, it's only on the model. Scouts 9 is Banana Town.
That's very good. And Squigosaurs will be able to lead. Squighog boys, they caught a nerf, so like Mozrag and the Beast Boss and Squigosaur caught a nerf, but I second that one, Mason. Scout 9, I'm going to turn 1 charge you, and there's literally nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, that's just brutal.
Sticky objectives is probably redundant considering boys already give you that. I know that this detachment is not centered around boys, but boys are probably still going to be pretty cheap. It depends on where the point costs land, whether or not it's more point efficient to run Scrag every stash, or if it's better just to run a unit of boys just to hold an objective in the midfield and then die on it.
Yeah, it's kind of up in the air.
There's some niche cases where, like, if you've got Gretchen on your home objective and you sticky it, the Gretchen can screen out those like 3-inch deep strikes from Inceptors and indirects and stuff like that. So even if they do have ways, like they drop 3 or 6 bolters and they kill all the Gretchen, you still hold the point for a turn, and now they've wasted 2 turns just trying to take that objective. Same with indirect, things like that.
Yeah, but no character can join Gretchen anymore.
There's
Yeah,
one.
but it stickies the home objective, and then they move off it, and the Gretchen stay there, and the objective stays sticky.
Oh, I see. I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying the Gretchen themselves do the sticky air.
No, there's value in putting things on a sticky objective and just completely disincentivizing the opponent from trying to interact with it. But I agree that it's niche.
The unstoppable momentum stratagem is nutty.
It's not, though, because you can get the same thing out of a kill rig, which if you're going to be running this, you're going to be running kill rigs, so you just tank shock them. And it's only really worth it if you are charging your prey target, and you have a max size unit of Squighogs. There's a lot of things that need to happen for that to be good, in my opinion.
Well, it gives you the option to tank shock twice, though, basically.
That I can agree with, right? So the ability to just say, I'm going to do 12 mortal wounds to you for 2 CP, that's a big deal. That hurts.
I don't want to take 12 mortal wounds on any model I've ever ran in this game. So
agreed, but you're spending 2 CP, and if it's your prey target, which it probably is if you're doing this, then you're charging 9 Squighogs and a kill rig into it. I can't think of very much in the game that can survive 8 Squighogs, Beast Boss, and a kill rig slamming into it. There ain't much.
If you had the 6-inch pile in and consolidate, then like you do that, and then one unit activates, kills that, and you pile 6 inches into some other nonsense unit, and then you just end up murdering 2 things. Yeah, it costs you 3 CP, but you can kill. There's no way for people to protect your stuff from other stuff, but you still can do that. But 3 inches is a lot less than 6 inches. I would know.
So I don't think any of the orc detachments are actively bad. It's just this one is the least strong.
You're getting bronze or not bronze in a codex that is, at the Olympics. You're still pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this codex is phenomenal and pretty well balanced. Like, the fact that you could literally take any of these to an RTT and you're not going to be laughed out of the room is not something, because like if you took First Company Task Force to an RTT, you have to be way better than everyone else there to win with that detachment. As bad, air quotes, as this detachment is, you're still doing pretty good.
It's still pretty good. So, Dread Mob, and this is kind of the thoughts in the orc community that I've been seeing, and I agree with it. It's borderline, though. Dread Mob is the strongest detachment that we have seen yet. So, the Dread Mob Tridat button, and first of all, can I just say the flavor on this is, you're taking hazards all the time, because you're an orc and you're just supercharging your weapons. It's just beautiful. So, the detachment rules Tridat button, which is Dark Pacts, basically, but different, because you can choose to take sustained hits or lethal hits, or on a critical wound, so 6 to wound, you increase the AP by 2. This is not just shooting. This is shooting in melee. This is huge. So, like, Killacan stonks way up. Mecha Dread, which not many people have those, but those stonks way up. Grot tanks, a unit of 8 grot tanks, which we'll get to in a minute. A unit of 8 grot tanks with this rule, the detachment rule, and 1 CP can reliably kill a Baneblade. That is out of control. And it's not like this detachment is squishy. Almost everything in the Dread mob that's going to benefit from this, from Grot tanks to Killicans to Death Dreads to Gorkanauts, Morkanauts, Stompas, they are not easy to kill. They are typically 2 or 3 up armor saves with 4 or 5 or 6 or 30 wounds on the Stompa. This is not easy to bring these models down. It's so flavorful. The stratagems like the 1 CP, the biggest shells for bigger gets. If you push it, you get +1 damage and +1 to wound at range. That's making your rockets on Killicans wound on 4s at damage 4. And then you can spend another CP to get full hit rerolls and just choose sustained hits. So for 2 CP, you're telling me I can just delete anything I want in the game? Okay. The Dread mob is so out of control. Daka lets you full reroll hits, but you gain hazardous. And if you have multiple instances of hazardous, well, you just take hazardous rolls on 1s and 2s. So after you full fire a unit of 6 cans or a unit of 6 or 8 Grot tanks, you lose 1. Well, you just deleted anything you want in the game, so who cares? Oh, and Grots become battle line in this. So ridiculous. You could field so many Gretchen, and if you want to field Zodsrod Wartsnaga for the neg 1 to hit, neg 1 to wound on them, you totally can. Mechs and big mechs benefit from this. There's one of the stratagems. The Get Find a Goggles ignores cover for mech units. You can put, mechs are stupid cheap. They're 10 points a model or something like that. They're so, or not mechs, Ludas. They're so cheap, and you put a big mech with shock attack gun with them, and all of a sudden, you've got strength 8 or strength 9, whatever the heck they are, AP 1, damage to Ludas, rerolling ones because of the big mech shock attack gun, or all hits if you're firing at something on an objective. Man, everything in this is really good. And then my absolute favorite is Press It Fasta, which is roll an additional dice whenever you shoot, and then attachment roll, and also gain an effect if it is different. So you can take this on a mech-led unit, so you could take it on, a big mech and put it on knobs or whatever. And because big mechs can lead knobs now, they're not war bosses, so they don't get the neg 1 wound, but who cares, man? A unit of 10 knobs with big choppas even, with sustained and lethals? My goodness. There's so much goodness in the Dread mob rules. This detachment's out of control. They're gonna catch nerfs. There's no way this detachment does not catch nerfs.
So I think the thing that's going to put this over the top, GW does a kind of a bad job at balancing units that are not in the core index. So Grot tanks being Imperial armor units, I kind of am worried that they're going to be a little bit undercost, because they're like kind of stealth good right now. They're like, these aren't bad, but there's better options. But, you're not like actively choosing a bad unit if you take them right now. In this detachment, they obviously are pretty heinous, and they're very cheap for what they do. Historically, I think it'd be unlikely to expect it to go up in points, but they probably should. I do think this detachment struggles very hard into fast moving armies that can just jump between cover, because obviously everything relevant being vehicles means that you can't go through walls, and there's no real way to get assault that I'm seeing.
There is 1 CP, Super Field Boiler. Orc Walker in the movement phase gives a reroll advance rolls, and ranged weapons gain assault. And if you get the wall running, then you can charge afterwards.
All right, so that's pretty good. You still have to go around walls and stuff like that, but it's definitely better than the alternative. I did miss that one when I was looking over it.
They also do just have like knobs and stuff to dig out things behind walls. It's not like you're safe sitting in a ruin.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that like ruins are a hard counter to this, but I do think that if you're putting there's this balance issue about how many points you're putting into these shooting walkers and how many like points you're spending on just good orc data sheets that the detachment doesn't do anything for.
It definitely would benefit to have 2 units of knobs and trucks led by big mechs will absolutely crump whatever they touch, and then you're still getting the benefit of your detachment of fire either lethals or sustained. And if you're worried about hitting on 4s because of your claws, well, just take big choppas and pick lethals. Who cares?
Oh yeah, because you're a mech unit at that point.
You're
right?
a mech unit, yeah. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm so here for it.
Going back to when you were talking about those shooting profile with the +1 damage and the reroll hits and the sustained and the ignore cover and all that, I was just thinking, man, they took every rule that people hated about Crisis Cyclic unit and gave it to orcs. +1 damage on the overcharge, you're hazardous, you're rerolling all hits, you get sustained hits. Like, yeah, it kills everything in the game, and they went and took it out of town and gave it to orcs.
Yeah.
And then also gave them dark packs.
Yeah.
Just dark packs sprinkled on top. There you go.
Dark packs, if they were cool, at least you can fail these. And you're not re-rolling a 6-up on 2 dice.
You're taking hazardous. You can leave it to chance, but then you might not get what you want. And then, you still got Ork ballistic skill for a lot of this stuff. Like Grot tanks and Killicans, obviously you're hitting on 4s, but for the most part, you're hitting on 4s. You're not hitting on 3s because you got somebody guiding you. It is not going to be as heinous as the initial Crisis blob was shown to be. So
I mean, I think this is solid. I don't think I would ever want to play this army because I hate getting slowed down by terrain personally. But I think that I also, if I'm not playing World Eaters, I don't want to play against this army. So
yeah, it's gonna shoot so hard.
I do wonder if it's gotta be intentional, right? They made the new mech and they let it lead knobs, and then you have this detachment that gives knobs the rule. But it really feels like almost a failure in their keyword design, where you put a single guy in a mech suit with a bunch of guys with swords, and other guys with swords get sustained or lethals or both in melee.
I don't know if it was intentional because you're invalidating the knob's special rule, which is -1 to wound if something is higher strength than them. So there is a payoff and a trade-off. So it's not just all positives.
Yeah, it's just like in terms of what is going on with design, like you've got orcs in vehicles pushing funny buttons is the detachment rule, and instead you've got guys with swords where they get to hit harder because
well, they could put buttons on their swords. Let's be realistic.
I guess they could, but it feels like a conflict of flavor here, and I get that flavor doesn't trump rules.
It's a little interesting to get hazardous melee weapons. Are there any other hazardous melee weapons in the game?
Arco flags.
Those are hazardous in melee? Okay.
You get 4 attacks or you get 6 attacks hazardous.
Oh, well, the answer's obvious.
Yeah.
There's also a precedent of GW changing a rule where a character doesn't give you unfettered access to everything. When, like, in the Necron Codex, where they, like, adding a Cryptek to a unit of Immortals doesn't make it a Cryptek unit, so you can't just use the Devastating Wound ability. They could do something like that to this rule. I know that it's a little bit different because it's an army rule. They still have the keywords, so they're still a unit, but it could just be, it can change it to models instead of unit.
I was going to say, the Cryptek thing, they are a Cryptek unit. They changed the stratagem to only give rerolls to Cryptek models, not Cryptek units.
Yeah, so they do have it's not exactly a 1-to-1 obviously, but it is a similar situation where they could theoretically right a great injustice in which making orcs be like Tau.
So, all right.
I really thought that phrasing it that way would get more of a reaction out of Will, and I'm very disappointed it didn't.
He's too excited by the Codex. He can't be brought down.
That's fair. He's like a kid on Christmas morning. You can tell if his dog died. He's like, yeah, but look at all this stuff.
So Dreadwaw is competing for number 1 right next to another detachment, but we're not there yet. This is my personal favorite detachment, Green Tide. So every time that they're attacked, targeted, if you have 10 or more models, they have a 5-up invulnerable save. You have a 5-up invulnerable save all the time. If you have 10 or more models, you reroll a saving throw of 1. That is so hilarious. Now, it's not broken because that's the whole detachment rule. It is, you are going to be too hard to kill or too annoying to kill, but this is my kind of play style. When I went to the Richmond Open last year, I ran something like 90 plus boys because it's fun, and I like running a gigantic horde of green idiots that screams at the enemy and just lives and takes objectives. So it's beautiful. Their stratagems are good. For 1 CP you can fight anything within 3 inches, and it counts as engagement range, so you can have 3 ranks fighting. Outrageously good. 1 CP, return D3 plus 2 orcs to a mob. So, mandatory, in my opinion, to play this detachment, you need 60 boys, 3 war bosses, and 3 pain boys. Every mob of boys will have a 5-up, re-rolling 1 invuls, and a 5-up feel no pain.
60? That's it?
Yeah, I said bare minimum, sir. I'm not done.
Okay.
That's the core of the army. Past that, it's whatever you want. Snagga boys did not gain the boy keyword. So, take that as you will.
Fair.
So, past that, you could just take Ork goodness. You could run some knobs for your Crumpin, but your war bosses are already tied up with your boys. So, Mega Knobs, we'll talk a little bit about Mega Knobs. Mega Knobs are stonks. While the Wa is going on, Mega Knobs have a 4-up, feel no pain. I think Mason and I talked about this before. We're like, man, if only Mega Knobs had a feel no pain, they'd be really good.
And now they do. I should never have spoke this into existence. I've ruined it for everybody.
So with your 20 stack of boys, somebody focuses them down and brings them down to, 6 models or whatever. Well, you pay 1 CP, you return D3 plus 2 orcs to the mob through Come On Lads, and you use your pain boys once per game to return another D3. So you're returning 2 D3 plus 2 orcs to your mob. Oh my goodness me. That is so nice.
It's also important to remember that unless you ignore in cover, if you shoot Mega Knobs in cover and with anything AP 1 or less, you have a 1-up rerollable save.
So Mega Knobs cannot be in units of 10, so...
But you can give them an enhancement.
We're getting there. Stop jumping ahead, sir.
I won't, because it's nonsense that this can happen. It's so dumb.
So good.
2-up rerollable saves, boys. Why?
For 1 CP, this is the biggest thing where orcs struggled, is boys are strength 4 base, strength 5 on the wall. So wounding big stuff was really hard. Uh-oh, here's 1 CP, reroll all wounds if you have 10 or more models. Oh my, so imagine 20 boys crashing into that Land Raider. I'm gonna be rerolling every wound, baby. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah, the rider of you have to have a lot of models to reroll the wounds is really funny to me, because that's exactly when you want to be rerolling wounds, is when you have a lot of them.
Well, I think it's more to punish you if you can't make it there with enough models to do it. So like you get chipped down to 9 models or whatever. Well, you're gonna get punished for taking too much damage. Tide of Muscle makes charging hilariously powerful on a weird boy unit of 20 boys. You hung back turn 1, turn 2, you jump over, and now you need a 7-inch charge. That's so good. So good. And then we have Blood Surge, go get him, and then if you have 10 or more models, you just move 6 inches closer. That's so bad for so many armies.
These last two really grate my cheese. I'm not gonna lie. Like, these are so good.
So good.
I'm like, hey, I think that you have 1 unit of boys minimum sitting on your backfield with a weird boy, and then turn 4, turn 5, you're like, I'm going to deep strike these guys right there, and I'm going to hit a 9-inch charge, but I'm a 1 CP Tide of Muscle, so I add 4 to that charge roll, so I'm rolling a 5-inch rerollable charge. What's up?
Well, it won't be reroll. You're going to have to spend a CP to do it, to reroll. There's no inherent rerolls.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing with you. It's really good.
Yeah, but you phrase that like, oh, this, whoa. It's fair because you have to pay for a CP reroll. When you're getting 2 CP every turn, one of your turns almost guaranteed.
There is also an enhancement to give your unit of boys reroll charges. So they could be like a 5-up reroll.
So what you're saying is, Will needs to shut up.
So if you take Bloodthirsty Belligerents, you can reroll advance rolls and units of 10 plus reroll charge rolls. Yes, it is a thing you can do. But for the most part, you're going to be taking Raucous Warcaller. The unit always counts as 10 or more models for the attachment, rule, and stratagems. You put this on a big mech with KFF, on a back-sized blob of Mega Knobs. You're functionally invulnerable to AP 1, which is so funny.
Yeah, something that was very good against orcs before is just anti-infantry shooting that's low AP because they never had an invul save. Now, like, against Mega Noms, that just literally does nothing against them.
Yeah.
And if it's water, and like if you do fire higher damage against them, it might bounce because there's a 4-up field of pain, which 4-up field of pains are like one of the swingiest things in the game.
Do Meganobs have a built-in invul?
No, but that's why you stick them with a Big Bucket Custom Force Field who gives them a 4-up invul to shooting. And for the most part, this detachment is probably going to struggle with killing stuff, as is normal for just a mob of boys. So I'll probably run, personally, 100 boys, 2 weird boys to jump them around and just be annoying, some Storm Boys, some Gretchen, and then 3 units of boys with war bosses, a pain boy, and then however many points left, I'm gonna Raucous Warcaller, and then either a big mech and mega armor or a mega boss for the +1 to hit on the Mega Knobs, rapid ingress them turn 2, and have them slam into something and absolutely crump it on the Wa turn.
Can a kill rig buff regular boy strength or only beast naga units?
They can buff regular boy strength.
So kill rigs give moderate shooting, I would not say good, but moderate shooting, and could buff your strength up to 6 on the Wa turn, which is not bad also.
It's not for sure. This will be a detachment that benefits heavily from Gazgul because he's going to be giving your whole army lethals in a 12-inch bubble on the Wa turn.
Oh yeah, we could talk about him at the end, but yeah, I forgot he existed, to be perfectly honest with you.
Gazgul is going to be used in the Green Tide and Bully Boys, for sure. If you're not taking Gaz in those detachments, you're silly, in my opinion. Anybody else got anything to say on this one? Oh, if not, we're going to move to the weakest detachment.
Nothing important. I was just going to ask if you're going to invest in a larger vehicle to carry your army to all these tournaments, because they're going to have so many fucking models.
No, so what I actually have now, you asked jokingly, but my case now actually does fit 100 plus boys, no problem.
Your case had room at the Richard Open for, you had almost a whole other tray that you could fit, right?
I had a tray and a half, yeah.
Well, your case is like $350, so it should be able to fit all this stuff.
You sure are right. It is a very expensive case, and it is very heavy duty. I kind of have to whenever I have this many models stuffed in one case. That's kind of putting a lot of my eggs in one basket.
Or a lot of your orcs in one basket, you mean?
Mushrooms? Yeah.
I'm not going to spend too long on the speed rules. They are the weakest of the Ork Codexes, and I don't think that they will see competitive play hardly at all. Unless things change or I'm dead wrong, which I don't think I am. Their core rule is they can shoot after advancing and falling back, which is great, but it's still Ork shooting. There's still buggies. You're hitting on 5s. Even with, the sustain 2 for a CP and reroll hits. You still have no way to buff your AP. You still have no way to really get the punch where you need it. Buggies are not tough. They're the same-ish profile as trucks. So they pop to a hot fart. They're okay. You can, take the speediest of freaks for 1 CP and get a 4+ invulnerable save on a unit of vehicles that's T8 or less, which would be excellent on like Defcoptas and stuff like that. But Defcoptas are still not great. Even in this detachment, they're good. They're really good, and flying over models and bombing them on a 4-up with a 6-man is cool. That's 3 mortals, and then you pop a bunch of stratagems and hopefully keep them alive. Yeah, it's okay. One of the biggest things is trucks and battle wagons are not speed freaks. That one kind of hurt. Their stratagem and enhancement support is okay. It's not the best. It's not the worst. They have some specific things where it probably should have been done in the Dreadwall. Like it specifically says you cannot combine Blitzifier, which is lethal hits for speed freaks, if you're within 9 inches. But you specifically calls out you cannot combine it with Daka Storm, which Daka Storm is very good. You get sustained 1 if you're within 9 inches, or sustained 1 at range. Sustained hits 2 if you're within 9 inches. So they kind of gimp the firepower. And the enhancements are okay. There is one enhancement that is absolutely outstanding, and it's called Fast Then Use. For 35 points, you get Assault Ramp on a unit. Now, 10 knobs piling out of a truck after a truck has just moved, friggin' 14, 16, 18 inches. That's bad for whoever those knobs touch, and they gonna bad touch somebody.
It doesn't let them charge if the thing advanced, right? So it's only moving 12?
So on the Wa turn, everything can advance and charge.
Right, but the stratagem only lets you get out of the truck and charge if it made a normal move, I believe.
It says can disembark if it has moved and can still charge.
Yeah, but you can't normally get out of a transport if it's advanced, is what Preston's saying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So sorry to crap in your Cheerios, but you lose that D6 inches. It's still a great stratagem.
Yeah, it's still very good. It's still 12 inches versus, anything regular knobs only move 6. So, okay, yep. It's still a good stratagem. It is kind of expensive at 35 points, though.
If you would normally move 12 and then disembark 3 and then charge, you've moved 15, right? Or you could get out 3, move 6, and then advance like 3.5, and you'd be moving 12 or 13. So it's only getting you about 2 to 3 inches, which is 2 to 3 inches, but it's not as good as it sounds on paper, at least to me, for 35 points especially. That's also assuming that the truck didn't have to go around any walls, which might end up making that 2 to 3 inches up just there. Whereas if you get out and advance forward, you could just go straight.
Yeah, but basically, and the rest of the enhancements are kind of crap. Death Kill the War Trikes are crap, so all the enhancements are crap. I got nothing for that.
Yeah, I think that's really the biggest shortcoming in the detachment is that there's a lot of rules that are pretty good. No rules that are going to blow me away, but all of them have to go on units that are kind of just not great.
Yep.
Death Killer War Trikes both look weird and are not the best profiles, and they look way hardier, and then every time I shoot at them they just my opponent just picks them up. Nope, that's gone. I was wait, but it looks like it's a light vehicle. It should be tougher than that. Nope, it's not.
It's not. Even T6, and I put it's got a 5-up invul all the time because it's dead tough, and you put a 4 feel no pain on it. It still dies ridiculously fast.
It's still T6. If you shoot anti-tank guns, last cannons are wounding it on 2s, who cares? You're going away pretty good. It only has 8 wounds?
It has 9.
I was close. Yeah, the rules don't go on anything good.
Nope.
And you're denying yourself you're denying yourself a detachment that does anything for the good data sheets in favor of strengthening the weaker data sheets. And typically you want the exact opposite, right? You want to be able to show off your best data sheets and not rise up your weak data sheets and then just sprinkle in the base level of your good ones. Which is why I think Bully Boys is actually the best detachment.
So this is up for contention.
Nope.
It definitely is.
I said so. It's the case.
I mean, you are the orc expert, so I agree.
That's my pin in the chat is Orc Expert, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Ah, yes. We'll move to my next favorite. So, Green Tide is my favorite because that's my playstyle, and Mason, and you guys all know that. But Bully Boys are for sure my second favorite because this detachment crumps. It's a millimeter beneath Dreadwa, or depending on how you play it or what you think, it could be dead even with a Dreadwa. Bully Boys are outrageously good.
So, Will, I want to just say this. Green Tide is your favorite for an RTT, but Bully Boys is your favorite for a GT.
You know what? You're probably not wrong, because taking 100 plus boys to the GT, my back hurt a lot.
Your back would explode trying to move even like 120 models for 6 rounds.
Oh.
You know what you need, Will? Because I've seen you move models, right? Let's not beat around the bush here. You need one of those little, like, grabby claws. And just, like, scoop them up and toss them so that you don't have to, like, lean way over.
Earlier, I suggested one of those little, like, scraper things I use on craps tables. Just push them forward.
Or get a big set of, like, tongs. Like, giant grill tongs or something.
It's true. If you ever get the chance to play with me, I'll measure once, I'll roll for the advance, I'll measure once, pick up the lead boy, put him down right where I measured him, and then I'll pick up the squad of boys and blop him in a blob behind him, and just yell precision movement, and it just tilts Mason off the face of the earth, and it's so funny. But yes, so back to Bully Boys. You get to call a second WA. The WA only applies to knobs, mega knobs, and units with a Warboss keyword. Well, hold on, let me think for a second. So, you mean my whole army? Because everything's gonna be led by a war boss? Well, okay!
Well, the Grots don't get it.
Ooh. Beast bosses, Squigosaurs, Deathkiller Wartrikes, Gaz, all of them get it. So you get 2 turns of a 5-up invul, an extra strength, an extra attack, advance in charge. Oh my god! So good. The stratagems? So good. If you're 1 CP for reroll all hits of reroll hits of 1 for shooting and fighting, oh no, or all hits in the WA. You're gonna be in the WA for turns 2 and 3, which is if you haven't won by turn 3, you've already lost, doesn't work. So who cares, dude? Too arrogant to die. 1 CP. You fight on a 5-up. Oh wait, or a 3-up if you're in the WA. So you just make your opponent go, oh god, do I really have to charge these knobs? 8 of them are gonna fight. Always looking for a fight. Destroy an enemy unit in the fight phase and consolidate 6 inches. You can just tie up half an opponent's army. Why not for 1 CP? Dude, the more I read this, the more I'm like, yes. They're all so good. Crushing Impact. So this is probably the weakest one, in my opinion. After charging, you roll 1d6 per model at an engagement range of an enemy. On a 4-up during the WA, you deal a mortal wound, capped to 6. That's your tank shock. But for knobs, or who cares, man? God, so good. Or boys led by a war boss. Cut them down is so good. An enemy is selected to fall back, they must make a desperate escape test. Oh, and it's during the WA? Well, it's -1. So, hope you're not battle shocked, because you're in big trouble if you're falling back on a battle. So you just have 50% chance to die. Is that cool? Are you cool with that? I'm cool with that. It's just, they're so good. And then Hulking Brutes worsen AP by 1 for shooting against this unit, so you can make Mega Knobs save on 2s against AP2 and cover. Oh my goodness gracious me. That's even good against, like, let's be real. Knobs in cover with Hulking Brutes, you're saving on 3s against AP2. Or AP1, excuse me. That's ridiculous. That's so good. So every one of those stratagems that I just mentioned, so good. So amazing. And then the enhancements, also really good. They're not all the best, but Teleporter, I'll be taking almost every game exclusively. Warboss and Mega Armor gets Deep Strike. So that's why at the beginning of the episode, I talked about how I painted up 7 Mega Knobs. Well, now I have 12 Mega Knobs, because my Warboss and Mega Armor will be going in Deep Strike pre-game and Rapid Ingressing turn 2. Have fun killing a Warboss and Mega Armor and 6 Mega Knobs. I'm going to probably place them where they can get cover on your turn, and then next turn, they will be in your army. Enjoy. Big Gob's okay. The biggest boss, this will be a points filler, plus 2 wounds to an infantry war boss. It could be cool on a mega boss, because you could pump them up to 9 wounds, and they are not easy to bring down, so that's a points filler. You got 15 points right there, cool. And Ed Stompa, 10 points, reroll wounds of 1 if your enemy's below starting strength, or full wound rolls if you're below half strength. If you can chip a model down in the shooting phase with your sluggas or whatever, it's okay. then you get to reroll wound rolls of 1. It's okay. It's 10 points. It's a points filler. It's not the worst. But the army detachment rule is so outrageously good. So outrageously good. And then all the stratagems are so outrageously good.
How do you not think Big Gob is good? Big Gob is so good. You charge them, they can't interrupt.
True, but it's only forcing a battle shock at -1. So what are most armies going to be saving on 7s and 8s? It's good. I wouldn't run it most of the time at 20 points. It's not worth it.
It's one of those things where if you could put it in a situation where it would be good, it would be good. But a lot of the time, your unit that it's on might not be in a situation where they're charging something that wants to interrupt, or they do and they pass a battle shock, or they do and they battle shock but they didn't have any CP anyway. It's like maybe 1 game out of 5 it does something, and that's just not a good return on enhancements.
I'd rather spend 5 points more and get Teleporta every game.
Well, I mean, Teleporta, yeah, you're going to always take. I think this attachment always has 5 war bosses. I think it has Gaz, 3 regular war bosses, and a Mega Armor war boss.
Yeah, you're very close to describing my army. I'm going to be running Gaz with 6 Mega Knobs. I'm going to be running War Boss and Mega Armor with 6 Mega Knobs, 2 units of 10 knobs with 2 War Bosses, 2 trucks to ride the knobs around in. And then depending on points, I'm going to have Storm Boys, Grots, obviously all the normal scoring stuff. And then I will probably have, if I have the points, a War Boss with 20 boys and a Pain Boy in a wagon if I got the points. And that's going to be basically the whole army, and everything in there is just gonna slap whatever it touches, because Gaz still gives lethals, but now he's not giving it for 1 turn. He's giving it for 2 turns. He's giving lethals for 2 turns. It's so good.
Did they ever rule that Wall Banner thing?
Yeah, the Wall Banner did indeed get ruled. The Wall Banner counts as calling the Wall, which goes directly against Raw, but that's the way they ruled it at WCW. That's the way that WTC has ruled it, and so that's the way everyone goes with it now, even though it doesn't even work Raw.
So you can give lethals for 3 turns if you really wanted to.
Nope, the Wall Banner got Legends.
That means it didn't actually get ruled, right? If they ruled something at WTC and they ruled it at WTC, that doesn't actually mean they ruled it. Because a lot of the January data slate stuff was things that went directly against their rulings at WCW.
I'm not disagreeing. They still haven't touched it, though, so TOs have to do the best they can with what they got, which is you have a GW official event.
Yeah, I'm just saying, to be clear, it didn't get ruled, which is what Mason asked, so it is up to TOs.
Yeah, it's up to TOs, but I'm not going to go against an official GW event. It's irrelevant. The Wall Banner's gone. It's Legends. So, I'm open to hear thoughts on the Bully Boys.
Literally no notes. This is a great detachment. I think everything about it is really strong. I think it's all the most fun units of orcs. If I were ever to put orcs on the table, it would be air quote elite orcs. Even knobs are they hit really hard and they're tougher at orc, but they're still not that tough. But it's I'm not 120 boys type army list type of guy. This list is actually very fun to play. I don't want to play against it, but I'm gonna have to. So
you are in fact going to have to. And honestly, this detachment would benefit just fine if you wanted to run 60 boys, 3 war bosses, and 3 pain boys. That would still be a totally valid detachment, and you would still absolutely slap people with it.
3 battle wagons?
Yeah, sure. You could run 3 battle wagons. Yes, that is a legitimate detachment. You could run 3, as long as you got Gaz in there for the lethals for 2 full turns. You're gonna have 2 turns of 5-up invuls, and then the whole time you got 5-up feel no pains, and then you've got lethals for 2 turns. That ain't nothing. That's nasty.
Yeah, I'm with Mason on this one. I think Bully Boys is better than Dreadwaw, just because it's consistent. Dreadwaw, sometimes, you could roll hot or low on hazardous. I've experienced it as crisis shoot. Sometimes you shoot, 8 shots and you get 4 hazardous and you immediately die. Sometimes, maybe if you're rolling the buttons instead of pushing it, you don't get what you need. You get the stupid precision, or AP on 6s. And sometimes you're just orc shooting, even with rerolls. It's on, 4s and 5s, right? So I just think that Bully Boys is consistent, reliable output. I think it's got tricks with the 6 and consolidate and things like that lets you have a bit more of play than just, hoping to table people through damage. 2 turns of the Wah is so many good interactions. You get the extra attack, you get the 5-up invuln, you get the Gauze aura interaction. Dreadwaw is good, but I think Bully Boys is clearly the best.
And we'll see it come out in the wash. Honestly, I could see both of them just performing outstandingly. I really could. Bully Boys has by far the low skill ceiling and the higher skill floor. You play Bully Boys and you take the correct units, you're probably going to win a lot of games by merit of the army.
You're just going to punch people in the face, right? Yeah, I agree.
Your army's going to walk forward. You're going to be tough as nails to kill, because for 2 turns, your Mega Knobs are going to have a 4-up Feel No Pain, a 5-up Invul, 2-up armor the whole time, and you're just going to slap people around. It's going to be a DPS check. If you can't kill the orcs fast enough, they're going to kill you way faster. I can agree with that. I will say if you're some kind of Gigabrain Siegler, I could see Siegler absolutely running rampant with Dreadwaw.
Siegler would play Green Tide, let's be real here.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Bully Boys. They'll probably be the most played sub-faction in Orcs because they're going to be easy to play, they're going to absolutely slap, they're going to be fun to play, you're going to crump people, and you're going to be really difficult to get rid of too.
I mean, I think the Green Tide is the easiest detachment to play.
You say that, but moving that many boys is a skill in and of itself, and to properly position that many boys. And I get it. Oh, you just move them up with a push stick. You're not wrong, but by the same token, you do want to be making sure you're utilizing as much line of sight blocking as you can, and that can get difficult when you're talking 22 plus models at a time.
Even deployment can be tricky, especially because you're probably not wanting to bring a transport for every boy, so then you have to worry about like where they're going and not blocking your own transports and things like that.
Correct. So Green Tide is going to be a little bit higher of a skill cap than Bully Boys, because Bully Boys is going to be, I'm going to slam these models on the table, and I'm going to advance them every turn, and I don't care about anything else.
Being able to move through your own models helps a little bit, but I think that I'm not looking at like your casual Timmy level player at the store. I'm thinking about someone who's willing to go to a GT, but probably isn't good enough to win. I think someone's going to have a better time if their skill level's lower with Green Tide than they are Bully Boys, because you have more models, therefore it's more forgiving. But ultimately, I think the Ork Codex has 3 lists that you could take, or 3 detachments that you could take and win a GT with. And I think that's the first Codex of the edition that has that option.
We still have War Tribe, right? Or they named it something else?
That's the last one that we're going to talk about once.
Oh, we haven't talked about that one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is still not at its heights, but I think you could definitely make a case for a 4th competitive.
With that, we'll move into the War Horde. They're good. They maintain the sustained hits 1. It's around a 20 to 26% melee buff in damage, which is great. They maintain Kareen, they maintain Unbridled Carnage, they maintain Orcs is Never Beaten for 2 CP. All of these are great. Art as Nails, they maintain that. They did change Art as Nails a little bit. It cannot be used on monsters now, so rip double Gargantuan Squigosaur lists. Those are done.
Oh, those were tearing up the meta, so it's a good thing they made that nerf.
And you can't put it on Mozzie anymore, right?
You cannot put it on Maws, you cannot put it on Beast Boss on Squigosaur.
But he has a Blade of Wounds now, so...
Yeah, and we'll get to those data sheets in a minute, but Beast Boss on Squigosaur went from a 4-up Feel No Pain to a 5-up Feel No Pain, and Mozzie lost his 4-up Invul, and now he's a 5-up Invul and a 5-up Feel No Pain. They both caught hands from GW.
Light slap. I think they got as much as they took, to be honest.
Sure, you'll never see Maws anymore. You'll see Beast Boss on Squigosaur with an enhancement, but you'll never see Maws again.
You think?
He's done, man. They didn't buff his offensive profile. They nerfed the heck out of his... What was Maws known for? Shooting at him for 3 days and he didn't die. Well, he can't do that anymore. He just dies.
Yeah, the difference between 4-ups and 5-ups is very huge, and when both of his 4-ups turn into 5-ups, he's losing like over half his durability. And you can't -1 to wound him anymore, which is even more durability gone.
And he's only T8.
Let's be realistic, though. A 4-up Invul and a 4-up Feel No Pain is a dumb profile.
It's very strong.
And it's not even so much strong. It's like you can't consistently trust anything about it.
I'm not disagreeing, but he also lost two pips of toughness, too. So, Maws, you will never see Maws again. The enhancements are... They got some changes. Follow Me Lads went down 10 points, so it's still, +2 movement for the unit, which is good. So it's only at 15 points now. Head Wap's Kill Chopper went up 10 points, so it's at 20 points. Anything that's not extra attacks gets dev wounds, it's obviously very good. And then Cunning But Brutal got nerfed to 20 points versus 15. It's fallback and charge. It's okay. And Super Cyborg Body also got nerfed. It went up to 25 points versus 15, and it gives a 4 Feel No Pain.
I'm going to give Dwayne The Rock Johnson a raised eyebrow to the point costs, even for the enhancements, because it kind of a brutal going up and Follow Me Lads going down, kind of the opposite of what I would expect, because Follow Me Lads I think is a very good strat, and I think that now that some models got nerfed, can you imagine that on a Beast Boss on Squigosaur?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because Follow Me Lads at 25 points, while pricey, I took it multiple times.
I think it's a very good enhancement, and every time I played against an Orc opponent using it, I'm like, I have to remember that, because 2 inches is a lot of distance.
Yeah, it's the difference between a 9-inch charge and a 7-inch charge, and that can be brutal.
It's the difference between a Plague Marine and an Elf.
But yeah, the Codex lost Zagstruck, our Stormboy boss. It lost Big Mech with custom force field, just replaced by the Big Mech. It lost the knob on the Smash the Squig. He's just rolled up into Squig Hogs. You lost Badrook, Wawbanner, Grotznick, Mech Boy Workshop. Now, the Mech Boy Workshop was an interesting one. I was kind of hoping we would keep that because it can heal. So, like, imagine that in the Dread Wah, healing and buffing 3 models a turn.
I will not imagine that, actually.
I was like, ooh, that could be juicy, and then I saw what was going on. I was like, eh. Printed points are not going to be relevant. I wouldn't sweat them. Some things are going to change. The new Big Mech, he's cool. He's not super useful. He can lead knobs, ludas, mech guns, and boys, and he gives rerolls, hit rolls of 1 at range. The only one that benefits from that really is the mech guns and kind of the ludas, but the ludas want to be shooting at stuff on objectives for full rerolls anyways. His ranged weapons are butt. He's going to be hitting on 4s, and then he's got a decent okay melee weapon.
Gaz is stonks.
Gaz got mega stonks. He now scores on the wall round, which in Bully Boys you get 2 of. You score a critical hit on a 5-up instead of just a 6-up. Whew. He got a sweep profile. 12 attacks, 2 up, strength 8, so on a wall round it'll be 9, AP 2, damage 2. He needed that. And he can lead Mega Knob still only, but my goodness, Gazgul went mega stonks.
It's not just him that gets the crit hit on 5s, that's the whole unit he leads.
It is correct. It is the whole unit that he leads.
That's good.
Storm Boys saw a very positive change. They no longer explode themselves on a turn in which you advance outside the wall. And so before they could advance and charge outside the wall, but before you moved them, you had to roll a d6 for every model and unit. On a 1, you just exploded and died. Which was funny and kind of thematic, but they changed it. These units are eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced or fell back, period. That's it. That's the end of the rule. So a brick of 10 Storm Boys is legitimately not bad anymore, because then you can threaten an enemy's home objective, no problem. There's no one to lead them, so it'll be outside the water in half the time, but that's honestly okay. Gretchen saw some changes. If you're Gretchen or Battle Shocked, you don't get your CP anymore.
Probably should have how Gretchen should have always been, realistically speaking.
Yeah, I agree. Commandos were largely unchanged. Boys didn't see any... Oh, Boys saw one major change. Sticky objectives. Super cool. Probably should have had it from the beginning, but that's fine. Ludas, no real changes. Full hit... other than they went down in squad size to 10 rather than 15. Same thing for Burnas. You might see some Ludas in the Dread Wah. Squig Hogs, the boss on Smash the Squig, he got rolled into the Squig Hog Boys detachment. That's the biggest change for that. We already kind of mentioned the Beast Boss on Squigazar. They got massively nerfed. If they remain the same points, you probably will not see too many of them. You might see 1 brick of 4 or 8 Squig Hog Boys with a Beast Boss on Squig with an enhancement leading them, maybe.
You were very excited about the Beast Boss on Squigazor being a war boss when you texted me the other day, so... I
still am, but if he remains the same points, which I think that he will, he probably will not be, because he's 200 dang points, man. And he doesn't kill anything, and now he's not going to survive anything either, so we'll see. Scout 9 with him, or in certain attachments, or just keeping him alive could be good in like Bully Boys. 5-up invul for Squig Hogs for 2 turns with a 5-up feel no pain. That is a lot of wounds to chew through, so we'll see how that shakes out.
So you're never gonna put the 10-man enhancement on him, but if you took that, he'd be exactly what that is. That 25 points for that enhancement in the book.
I think so.
So that would make him 190. Yeah, that's...
He doesn't kill anything, so 190 for something that kills literally nothing.
Field no pain is not a save, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Because that'd be, if you gotta reroll your 1s for Field no Pains, that'd be pretty dumb, actually.
It would, but no. Other major changes. Killicans saw a major change. Shooty Power Trip changed massively. When shooting, you can roll a d6. On a 1 or 2, the unit takes a d6 mortal wounds. On a 3 or 4, +1 to the strength of the ranged weapons. On a 5 or a 6, you get +1 attack to the ranged weapons. If you're going all in and spending 2 CP for full hit rerolls, +1 damage, +1 to wound on your Killicans, I would probably activate Shooty Power Trip in the hopes of rolling the +1 to attack with their ranged weapons and just to turbo just kill whatever I want. And the Grotzuka got a huge buff. You might see this. You might see a unit of 3, Killicans, because they're going to be hitting on 4s. D3 plus 3 shots, blast, ignores cover, strength 6, AP 1, damage 1. That's not a bad profile on Grotzukas. So you may end up seeing 3 Killicans come out and, those pesky T3 models with barely any save. Killican stonks are way high right now.
I could definitely see you taking a unit outside of Dreadmaw. Dreadmob, you obviously take what? I want to assume you can still take students of 6.
Yes.
So you don't think you take 18?
Depends on the point. Whenever I run my Dread Wall, I'm gonna probably run 16 Grot Tanks and 12 Killicans.
I hate it.
Sorry. Def Dread stonks went way up. The Claw, which was my biggest complaint, which used to be strength 10, is now strength 12. And in the Dread Mob, he enjoys all of the Dread Mob's buffs. So, it ain't bad. No real changes with the wagon or anything like that. Kill Rig saw the same. War Boss and Mega Armor. Mega stonks. So instead of having a stupid feel no pain during the WA, why? Who cares? You're going to be chewing through a unit of Mega Knobs to get to him anyways. Now, during the WA, his huge Choppa, which is now strength 12, AP 2, damage 2, is now damage 3. That is a big change. So, War Boss Mega Armor stonks way up. Beast Boss Gunswig, we already kind of talked about him, stonks way down. Boss Snickrot saw an interesting change. He now can pick up and sit down once a game like a Cladius Assassin, and he has the Lone Op keyword. So, Boss Snickrot, while not a War Boss, he does not have the War Boss keyword, is still going to be on the WA turn. 7 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 7, AP 1, damage 2, with precision and twin link. So he can put a legitimate threat into light characters.
Wait, you said he's a lone op?
Mm-hmm. He is gaining the Lone Op keyword if he's not leaning commandos.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if he's cheap, you just take him as a one-of and just say, I'm going to drop down to do an investigative signal one game or deploy a teleport homer.
Yep, so I'll probably be taking him a lot of games, put him in a corner in my home field, have him screen, and then do homers, and then if I need him to pick up and go to an opponent's corner, and then the following turn threaten their home objective, that's a thing that I can do.
Oh, he's precision too, so, which is not bad. It's only AP 1, but think about those Plague Marine units that have 2 just Marine body characters, just run up and slap those characters a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So overall, my closing thoughts, the Ork Codex is big stonks. You're going to see a lot of new units. Even the Stampa is arguably very good. I'm not going to say it's the best. It's still an 800 point friggin' model. It's going to get shot off the table immediately. But if you get to go turn 1, you're going to just absolutely blow someone up. If you go turn 1, you're going to just tell your opponent to pick up 2 squads. So take that how you will.
You heard it here. The Stampa's good, according to Will. So if you have a bad game with a Stampa, write an angry email to Will.
Yes, please. Join our Discord and let me know how angry you are that I gave you terrible advice and you bought the Battle Force box and you feel ripped off. Come in here and verbally abuse me.
That's what we gather here for every week, just to berate Will for being a nonsense human.
I mean, you're not wrong.
But this is potentially an Ork meta. This is definitely a meta warping codex. Whereas, I feel as though the Custodians Codex isn't really going to change the meta that much overall. You have to think about, okay, what do I have that kills 20 boys in one activation? Because if I shoot them and I don't kill them, they're going to surge into me.
I am absolutely tailoring my Richmond Open list to fight against Orks, and I'm not even being shameless about that. There is going to be A, the codex being very strong, and B, the codex being new. With Ork players, it's just all coming together. There's going to be probably 20 Ork players out of the 100 or 120 players there, I would guess. Maybe 10 to 15, but I would say 20 is not unreasonable. And half of them are going to be high-level players, so I agree that it's a very meta-warping codex, especially for the near future.
So for me, the only change I'm going to make is if I run Khorne Berserkers, I'm going to run a Master of Executions instead of Karn, because that's really the only way that I can list Taylor against them. But if I run the Lord of Skulls, I think that the Bully Boy list is not a bad matchup, and I think that the Green Tide has a very hard time killing the Lord of Skulls, so I think that I can bully them in return. But the Dreadwall kind of just shoots that to death pretty quickly, so I'd have to be very careful with that.
I'm putting a 3rd unit of Arco Flags in my sister's list.
That's what I like to hear.
From my end, I mean, it's what you want your codex to be. I mean, it's flavorful. It's got good stuff in it. If I ever get a World Leaders Codex, I'd like the people who wrote this one to write mine, because it's full of army flavor and it's good rolls.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's no missed attachment in this codex. There's ones that are obviously not as competitively good. There's nothing that hey, this should just be, you just rip this page out and throw it in the garbage.
Yeah, nobody's like, what are you doing, GW? It's all yeah, I see what they were doing. I think this has a place in the book.
It looks fun. It's powerful, and we're going to see a lot of orcs in 3 weeks.
I'm very excited.
And as an anti-orc podcast, we hate the fact that it looks fun. GW, what have you done?
Can you imagine the episode we would have had with Will if the Orcs Codex was garbage?
I just wouldn't have showed up.
I was saying, Will wouldn't have showed up. He would have just been like, guys, I can't do it. I can't talk for an hour and a half about orcs just being bad again. And I will say, this codex is straight fire because nobody hates orcs more than orc players. And Orc players are hype about this book, which means that this book is just phenomenal. Because if they're all happy about it...
I mean, I hate orcs, and I'm not an orc player.
But you don't hate it as much as an Orc player does. Because, like,
I can be a really good hater when I want.
Well, we all should hate orcs. We all should aspire to hate orcs as much as Orc players do, to be honest.
So this is the best codex so far, period. Hands down, I think.
This is probably the best release of 10th edition.
Yes, point cost will go to see whether or not it's the strongest codex to be released to, but like definitely the craftsmanship that went in this codex is chef's kiss.
So points when? That's the question.
In 2 weeks, when they release the book and then do an MFM drop.
We shall see. I really don't think orcs are going to see much in the ways of points adjustments. Maybe Beast Boss goes up or goes down a couple points, but everything else, it should hopefully stay similar-ish. A couple points raises here and there won't cripple the codex, so we'll be all right.
Stompa to 600?
Stompa to 600 would be kind of outrageous. Like, it would actually be very good in the Dread Wa. Like, I could legitimately see people running 2 of them if they go to 600. So don't put that curse on yourself, Ricky Bobby.
Well, we'll see in a couple of weeks.
Hopefully we get the MFM this... They usually drop it Wednesday?
Thursdays, I think, but I don't know that we're going to get it this week.
Well, what day does the codex slotted to actually release?
27th.
Oh, I thought we're doing Sunday releases now.
No, Sunday's pre-order, Saturday is always one on shelf.
So if we don't get an MFM on the 25th, that means we're not getting new points for the Richmond Open.
Correct.
Well, you are getting new points regardless, Will, because you'll have a codex before that. But I would really like it if some of these angry red guys get a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, I agree. I could bring more than 5 units.
I'm debating if I want to paint up a second unit of Jackals just in case, but who knows? I probably won't even have time, so it doesn't matter. I guess I could just put Chaos Cultists out there and say deal with it.
I would be happy to skip an MFM because I'm not bringing Tau, and Tau wouldn't be touched in that anyway because they'll be touched when their codex releases. And Sisters, I feel like the only way the points are going to go is up. So it would be nice for them to stay the same.
Oh, yeah, that is fair. The Sisters have been killing it. Well, at least I wouldn't have to change my list if we didn't get one, but we'll see.
Yeah, we have, 10 days? So we'll see. Any final thoughts?
I'm excited for my codex. I'm excited to play my army. I'm over the Wa tribe. Played well over 100 games this edition with the Wa tribe. I'm over them. I'm very excited to be playing something else.
I think we're all excited for you to play your army. We're just not excited to play against your army.
I'm excited to watch you play your army against other people.
Yes.
That's fair.
I'm not excited for you to tell you 5 saves, you roll 5 5-ups, and just stare at me. I'm like, I hate it when you do that. Say something, you nerd.
Sorry, buddy.
Admit what you did was foul.
No.
But no, this is a great codex. Honestly, man, and all the Orc players out there, I'm happy for you guys. I'm glad they didn't Dark Angels you.
And didn't Custodes them? Yes.
So that was 3 codexes in a row, because it was Admech, Dark Angels, Custodes, just were like orcs standing on the pile of bodies to claw for the championship title.
I have hopes the Chaos Codex will be as decent.
If it's the same writer who did the Ork Codex.
We'll be finding info out on that this week.
Yeah, we might get some info.
They said they would be in their Warcom preview article.
But Emperor's Children win?
I'd like a detachment.
I think they're just releasing the entire army tomorrow.
Oh yeah, there we go. Just
PDF it.
surprise, it's on the store now. It's on the store before the Tau Codex still.
And it's all resin. It's all resin and it's all fine cast.
Well, now I hate it.
As you should. It's chaos. All right. Hope everybody enjoyed the listen. And otherwise, hope everybody has a good week. And remember to email us at openplaypodcast@gmail.com. Join the Discord. It's in the show link. And say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good week.